I'm going to share some advice, and that advice comes from my heart. And it comes from my experiences, and very similar to what Bowman said, right? My grandparents were refugees. They moved to Delhi. My father went to evening college. He worked as a typist with a lawyer. He then went into the diplomatic services, did well for himself. But the one thing that stood out every time I talked to my grandfather, every time I talked to my father, was the importance of education. I think as a race, we get it. Indians have a huge, huge focus on education. Whatever my parents had, they spent on our education, my education, my sister's education. The values they instilled in us was that money may come and go, fame may come and go, but education will always hold you in good stead. It'll give you the value. When I see all of you and I look at what you're trying to do, I'm just in awe. So rather than me telling you anything, I'm just going to share my experiences. But I want to learn from you. This is a learning experience for us, right? What you are at your age, I was nothing. Either in terms of maturity, in terms of understanding society, in terms of giving back, you are absolutely amazing. So I'm going to draw a lot of inspiration. But before I do that, I'm just going to lighten it up a bit. I'm going to give you something philosophical, and my kids are tired of me sharing my philosophy of life with them. Let me try to share it. Love life, enjoy it, and be happy. You know, when you're happy and when you're really radiating happiness, life comes to you. You don't have to go looking for it. Happy people draw other people in. And it's important because every minute, every hour, every day, every year, every decade is a gift. I think Bowman's starting point was amazing. This sitting here is a gift for you, it's a gift for us. To sit here in your presence and be inspired by all the work Rishabh and team have done, it's a gift for us as well. So when somebody gives you a gift, what do you do with it? You take it, you accept it, you're in gratitude. So live in gratitude. And I always have this thing, if you have perspective and you have gratitude, allow them to be your companions in the journey. Allow them to accompany you. So wherever you go, have two things with you, perspective and gratitude. And once you do that, life will be a lot happier. You will always find the brighter side of the situation. The glass, as they proverbially say, will always be half full, never half empty for you. Because there's always perspective. There's always, so whenever I look back and I'm going through a rough patch, I go back and I go back to my dad's generation. I go back to my grandfather's generation, how they were sitting in a refugee camp. And I'm complaining about flying first class or business class. Come on, let's have some perspective. The things we take for granted, that generation could not even dream of. So anyway, I was thinking about preparing for this, and I thought the best way to prepare for this is to think of yourselves, all of you, as who I was when I was your age. And what would I tell my younger self? Not that my younger self would have listened to me, but what would I tell my younger self? In the hope that you might pick up one or two things. The first thing I will say is we are a society obsessed with success. And we think of success as unidimensional. And it's black and white, right? Either you succeed or you don't. And I'm saying absolutely, aim to succeed, but embrace things when they don't go your way. Right? Success is not the destination, it's the journey. A lot of people confuse the destination with the journey. And we think of it as a destination. It isn't. I remember many, many, many instances in my life when I thought my life was going to come to an end because something didn't work out. And I thought that was it. All my hard work, all the hours I had spent were all going to go to waste because something didn't work out. And eventually it did. Eventually it all made sense because we're on this journey of trying to discover what's best for us. And sometimes we don't even understand it. So let me give you my example. I did 4 years of engineering in Delhi. I ended up with one of the really nice jobs. Finished college, we had the weekend. Monday was my first day of joining. On Sunday afternoon, I have a pretty serious motorcycle accident. So I go to hospital, I'm in hospital for a month. I go back, my parents were posted to Bulgaria at that time, so it took me a year to get my leg back. In that 1 year, I obviously didn't join. I went through a huge depression thinking my life has come to an end because I was in India. In India, nobody waits for you. The batch joined, I couldn't join. So there was no deferred placement. But what happened? We found another way. Another pathway opened up. I came back to this country, I did an MBA, went back to India to join HSBC, had a tremendous time. So all I'm trying to say is at every point in your life, when you think things can't get worse, don't think that. Think things will get better. And the thing that is meant for you will happen. I mean, failure isn't a word, nor should we ever treat failure as a word, right? If you run away from it, it'll haunt you. If you lean in and embrace it and learn from it, you will want it. We heard just now, right? When things don't go away, learn from what happened. And life isn't binary. Life isn't success or failure. Life is all about learning. So that's aim to succeed, but embrace when things don't go away. The second lesson I would give you, and I think this is really important for the age that we live in, be curious. Learn new things and be open to learning from everyone. So I'm going to actually give you 5 seconds. In this 5 seconds, just look around the room. Just look at people. Just look at people around you. Every single person you are looking at, every single person you're spending days with on this trip will be part of your success. They will help you succeed, and you will help them succeed. That is how intrinsically linked we all are. When you meet people, be curious, ask them questions. Genuinely want to be part of their lives, genuinely care about where they come from, where they're going. Can you help them? Let me give you another instance. I sometimes feel we live an entitled life, even though we have perspective, but sometimes, things happen. So I was coming off a long business trip. I was coming back to London from a flight from Hong Kong, as I did yesterday morning, but this is many years ago. I was grumpy, I was tired, I was jet lagged. But I have a golden rule. Whenever I sit in a car, whether it's an Uber or any other car, I talk to the driver. That's common courtesy. So anyway, I started talking to the driver, and the driver sensed that I was a little edgy. I was tired. He starts telling me his story. And his story really, really opened my eyes. This guy was on his second shift. And driving in London is not easy, right? You've got cameras everywhere, you have to concentrate a lot. So this guy was on his second shift. Yet, he wasn't complaining. He was happy. He was talking with a smile on his face. And his life story was similar to most people who come to the UK, which is he was working 2 shifts every day. He was sending money back to Pakistan to his parents and his siblings. He wanted to educate them. And he thought he was doing the best thing possible in life. He was happy. He wasn't complaining. I was the one complaining about, hey, I've just sat in first class, I am tired, I didn't get a proper sleep. He was upbeat, he was positive, and the most important thing, he was full of gratitude. That, he had a smile on his face. Every time I talk about this, it actually tears me up a bit. I learned so much from him that day. He taught me the true meaning of what gratitude really means, what perspective really means, what it means to live in the moment. He was living in the moment. He was providing for his family. He had a duty of purpose. He was very clear on his mission, and he was executing on it, and he was happy. I was none of the above. And that, my dear friends, was an amazing lesson that I learned, and I've promised myself every time I feel a little down, I'm going to think of him and think of what he taught me. So every time you meet somebody, lean in, talk to them, and I mean talk to them with your heart. Don't just talk to them, and don't do the American, hey, how are you? People say, yeah, and you've moved on before the answers come in because you really don't care about the answer. Hey, how are you? You just move. Spend. Even the 10 seconds you spend with somebody will change your life, not their life, your life, because you will learn something from them. And do it with your heart. As I said, don't do it artificially. The third lesson I would give my much younger self is lean in and help. Always find, whether it's to people, whether it's society in general, even there's been a big shift in leadership styles. If you think of the old charismatic leaders, they were about themselves. Think of any business leader, think of most politicians. It was the grandiose, it was a ceremony that, they're big egos. You had to feed the big egos. Today, leadership is all about service-oriented leadership. I have seen all types of leaders in my life, right? And I've been in many firms and I've seen everything, right? I have also been very fortunate to work for people like Ajay Banga, who passionately drove Mastercard's results for the 11 years he was CEO, but we did it with a conscience. He came up with this thing, right? Doing well by doing good. Again, I go back to success is unidimensional. If it's binary for you, what is the point of finishing that finish line and reaching it, and you're the only one there? You have nobody to share that happiness with. Whereas if you create this ecosystem around you, people you've helped, people who helped you, you've leaned in and helped society, you've been part of a bigger cause, it's an amazing feeling. Again, I'll give you a pretty touching story that I went through. So one of my fondest memories of working in the last 20 years isn't a business-related story. It's actually 2 days that I spent with a charity in Singapore. And I went into the charity thinking, oh my God, I'm giving them 2 days, they're gonna be so, whatever. I don't think my purpose of going there was as altruistic as I would have liked it to be. It was more about, I'm a senior leader, I need to be seen doing this, and I'm gonna do it. Those 2 days changed me, because I met 4 people there who had various disabilities and they were living with them, but they would come every day to the charity. Every day with a smile on their faces, they would pack greeting cards that the charity used to send. At that particular point, it was just before Christmas and New Year, so we were packing Christmas and New Year cards, and they would send them out with a smile on their face. And they knew what they were doing. They knew they were contributing to a bigger cause. So all I want you to understand is when you have your own cause, go after it, but be part of a bigger cause as well. The world, and you are all, and I'm talking to the converted, all of you are part of a bigger cause. And that for me, when I look at all the things that you've done, it is so encouraging. Selfless work never goes unrecognized. And even if you're the only person that sees it, it'll change you as a human being. You will become a lot more aware of the society that you live in and all the things that you need to do. In finance, and I come from the world of finance, in finance there's this very important principle. It's the principle of compounding, right? If you put money every day, every month, every year, it compounds, and 5 years later you're a millionaire. That's the theory. In your world, think of it as what I would say is, how can I scale what I'm doing? The power of scaling. Each one of you individually will change the world a bit. But when you combine yourselves, when you combine with other things, other ideas, your ability to scale your ideas and transform the world is unbelievable. I'll give you another corporate example. So at Mastercard, we were very keen to do things for the earth. We live on the earth, we have a duty to do something. And we said, you know what, we're going to plant lots of trees. So we did the calculations, we came up with a number and said, okay, we can theoretically plant X number of trees. However, that's not good enough. That is not what we are here for. So we created what was called the Priceless Planet Coalition. We got the ecosystem around us, the banks, the IT companies, all of them to sign up, and we committed to planting 100 million trees. And that suddenly we were making impact. So my advice to all of you is be passionate about what you're doing, be passionate about your idea to change the world, but then as you develop it, as you nurture it, look to scale it. Look to scale it in the way that nobody's done it before. So rather than just impacting the one village, the district, the state, the country, we're actually doing it at a global level. Each and every one of you has the ability to do that. Think big. And always, always, always be open to people joining you on this ride. Your idea isn't just yours. The moment you understand that, the moment you understand you will succeed when others join you, the more you'll be able to scale it. The one thing I'm genuinely passionate about, and I want you to just think about it for a second, is this notion of we grow together. Remember I asked you to look around and look at people in this room? Because you're all going to be part of each other's growth. When people grow together, when people lift each other, magic, and I genuinely mean it, magic happens. But to do that in today's world, because we're so trained in a bilateral way, the human brain has friend or foe. In our mind, in business, we think of a partner or competition. Stop that thinking. Completely rewire yourselves. Change the way you look at competition. In this interconnected world, everyone can be a partner, an ally, a mentor, and an accelerator for your success. Just pause on that for a second and stop looking at people as, oh, he's not going to help, or she's not going to help, or they'll take my idea, or that's competition for me. I need to do better than them. Liberate your mind. Look at every single person that you meet, every single idea that is brought in front of you as an accelerator for the success that you want. They can help you, they can mentor you, they can accelerate your idea, they can give you ideas around what the pitfalls may be. So everybody's going to contribute to that. And I'll give you one particular example. When you help people, and when you're part of a larger ecosystem, the feedback you get from that is probably the most enriching feedback you will ever get. So I'll give you one example. When I was with Citibank, I had a big team over there, and we had lots of very, very good interactions. I left Citi, went to Deutsche Bank, and I lost touch with a couple of people in my team. Right? About 2 years later, I get a random email from somebody who used to work for me. And the email was, Satvinder, I just got promoted yesterday to managing director. And managing director in a bank is a big deal. Satvinder, I just got promoted to managing director yesterday. You're the first person I'm telling this to because I owe you so much for all the mentorship, all the guidance, all the help you've given me. Now that message I remember more than any other professional achievements I may have done while I was there. Why? Because when you help people, whether they acknowledge it or not, that's a byproduct. But when you help people, you genuinely feel that you've contributed back to society that has made you who you are. And that is an amazing, amazing feeling. I have 2 more points, and then I'm gonna. We actually have Q&A after that, right? So, Lord Gandhi and I were at Davos last week, and it was a tremendous experience. You get to meet everybody. You're so close to people that I have always looked up to, and whatever else. So I was a bit starstruck. Right? I was like, oh my God, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to go here. But the one theme I will share with you, which I think is really relevant for your generation, and you will see this play out over the coming years and decades that you're going to be leaders in, is what I call the democratization and dispersion of technology. The big words. What does that mean? It means technology today, as it's created, will be available to everybody in the world as soon as possible. So let's go back. Let's go back in history and think about the Industrial Revolution. When the Industrial Revolution happened in certain countries, by the time it reached the rest of the world, it was decades, if not centuries. It took a long time for that to move across. So look at today where we are. ChatGPT comes out. I'm going to give you a real example. ChatGPT comes out. It's available to everybody globally. So it's instantaneous democratization and dispersion of technology, number one. Number two, somebody in India has a brilliant idea that says, you know what? I'm going to put a language interface on top of ChatGPT, because the issue with ChatGPT was it was English. So how does somebody who doesn't know English access technology? So suddenly you're creating barriers for access to technology. But technology has to be democratized. That's when the world will do well. So how do you democratize it? So somebody very ingeniously created a language interface. So then let me give you a use case. a farmer in rural India speaks in his language, and it's voice recognition, speaks in his dialect into the telephone, which has ChatGPT and the language module in it, and asks a question. And the question is, what local subsidies are available to me living in this district? Within seconds, he has an answer. So what have we done? Remember, the first industrial or computer revolution was giving access to information. Now it's giving access to knowledge. We have democratized knowledge. And the reason I'm saying this is you have to recognize this trend, you have to value it, and you have to make it work for yourselves and for the broader society. Technology is your tool. A friend of mine, his son did not go to college. And he was very upset because for him education was very important, but his son did not go to college. His son right now has an annual turnover of upwards of 10 million sterling. What did he do? He had an idea to create earbuds for iPhones. And he sourced it all on the internet. So he created an RFP. The marketing team in Spain got the contract. The manufacturer in Japan got the contract. The market in Asia opened up. And without him doing anything, he was suddenly running a business. 20 years ago, without having a factory, without having everything yourself, that would not have been possible. Fast forward another 10 years, and your imagination is the only thing that's holding you back. The world is changing. These are big shifts that are happening. The day you have technology is the same day I have it when I'm on the west coast of the US. The differentiation between the world changes. Now, what you do with that technology, how quickly you embrace it, how quickly, like this very smart person in India did, put the language interface on top of ChatGPT and completely Indianized it so that everybody can use it, that is up to all of you. That then gets me to my last point, which is the point I have a lot of fun on. You saw a lot of Indians mentioned in the video, right? You saw Indra Noori, you saw Satya, you saw, who else did you see? You saw Sundar Pichai, you saw lots of people. So there was a book once written, and they quizzed this. And the book was, why do so many Indians suddenly go to the US and the UK? And why do we all do so well? What is in our gene pool that makes us do so well? Now, it's an oversimplification, but they came up with one word, which I think all of you have, and I still have it. The word is jugaad. How many people here know what that word jugaad means? Okay, let me just pick on, who wants to give the definition of jugaad? Who wants to volunteer, please?
Coming up with a very simple, very localized and very humble and ingenious solution to a very complicated problem in a very simple way.
Yes. I think it's absolute, thank you, you can say. I think that's absolutely. So, going back to what Bowman said, never forget your roots, never forget where you came from. All of us, because of where we've come from, have jugaad in abundance. It's in our DNA. Our generations before us had it. I had jugaad when I used to figure out where I'm going to stand in the queue to get the Bombay local so that when I was going back to Andheri, I would get a seat. We all have jugaad, right? So look at technology. Okay, so let me recap. Look at who you are. Look at success as not binary but linear, right? Look at your ability to learn from others. Be inquisitive. Be part of somebody's success. Bring people in. Scale what you're doing. Be a good human being. Grow together. Embrace technology. Because why? Because you have the DNA to succeed. Your parents, your forefathers, your grandparents, your great-grandparents all had this one unique skill which is impossible to teach. But we somehow have it because it's in our gene pool. So with that, thank you very much for and one final thank you I do want to say. I think you said it a moment earlier. I want to thank you in advance for all the wonderful things each and every one of you is going to do. So like the name of the lady we saw there, each and every one of you in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years is going to be a rock star. At that time, when I come looking for your autograph, just give it.